And welcome to Off the Glass, our first studio show of the 25-26 season. I'm joined by the head coach of the Lady Wildcats, Coach Kevin Tubbs. We also have a special guest over here. That's Evelyn Eubanks. Evelyn is a senior member of the team. Let's see if we can flip over to her camera and get a good shot of Evelyn. There she is. Evelyn is a senior member of this Lady Wildcat team and one of just a few seniors you have, Coach. And Evelyn will come back and talk to you here in a minute. But, Coach, you and I were talking, right before the show. It seems like it was months ago since you played a basketball game. I think all the way back to that Cook Bowl game, like 15 days. I think it'll be 18 days before you between games. You'll play this Friday against the Bearden Bulldogs. What have you been doing these last few days?
Yeah, it's pretty unusual. In my entire career, I don't think I've ever had two games and then we've taken 16, 17, 18 days off. We've been trying to practice, trying to correct things that we think are issues, but that's one of the problems with not playing. Mm-hmm. Every game you play early in the season gives you a chance to fix things. Mm-hmm. So right now we've just been trying to fix ourselves as much as we can and kind of adjust. We've been dealing with some injuries, some other things, but at least it's given us some time to get a little more healthy. Okay. So that's a positive, but we're definitely ready to play. We need to play.
Let me ask Evelyn something. I know players like to play. Coaches like practice. Have you enjoyed 15 straight days of practice? What's that been like for you?
It's been pretty good. We've been playing against not the starting five, just scrimmaging, trying to see if it works and stuff.
But do you like to practice? Is that something you like to do, or would you rather be playing ball games?
Oh, I'd rather be playing.
Yeah, of course. That's typical. Coach, the two games that you played, you started out, we got some highlights. And Chandler, just go ahead and roll those, and Coach and I will talk under them. You started out the season with Aller Springs, and this was the first home game, obviously the only home ball game. And new look team, we talked about this on our previous shows, first time I interviewed you, and you got some experience coming back. I guess Avea probably has the most playing time experience, but different roles for those players than they've had before. And talk about this ball game and how they've progressed since that first day of practice.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice to finally play with this team. It was the first time I'd actually seen them play against live opponents that were not ourselves. But they played extremely hard. I was very, very happy with how hard we played. I think it's a team full of people trying to figure out roles right now. And part of that's just being so new. We have all the new freshmen, very few returners from last year, a whole new starting five. So it was interesting for me to kind of watch and kind of pick up a little bit here and there about who's going to do what for us. And I think it was kind of rough because we had to play with 10 days of practice. We were just talking about all the practices we've had, but we only had 10, and we go in and play. But we played hard, and that if they'll do that, we'll have a chance to win games. But that's what's crucial for us. But I still think right now we just need to play some more opponents so we can figure out roles and figure out kind of what we're going to be about.
What did you learn in those first two ball games once you did see them play?
Well, I learned really quick that we could practice a lot harder because they played so much harder in the game than we do in practice. So, and that's normal. That's normal. But I was just impressed with. They didn't give up. They kept going. They kept playing hard. They were cheering for each other. Those are the things that are hard to coach. Mm-hmm. We can figure out the roles and we can figure out strategies and adjustments. But if they can do that, we'll be successful.
There's Avea right there just scoring. Avea has been the go-to player. And you told me that, because she really had the most experience, that things were going to go through her. Mm-hmm. She has scored a lot of points. And what I was thinking, and we'll see the highlights of the Cook Bowl game here in a minute, you needed some more scores in that ball game. I mean,
Absolutely.
I think the first 3 quarters, I think she was the only one who had scored in that ball game. And I know that's something that had to concern you.
Yeah, well, I think, too, that part of that's starting off, having to play Cookville back-to-back nights at Cookville. They're a really good team. I'm not going to take anything away from them. They're a really, really good team. But I think we made them look a lot better than they were. And I think Avea was probably put in a really tough spot because we're not 100% sure what we're doing sometimes on offense at this stage. Mm-hmm. And she has the ball in her hand, so she's given no choice but to try to score.
Right.
And so I do think that puts her in a tough spot. But I think I think Friday we're going to see a different Eve. I think she'll still score, but I think you'll see her maybe pace herself a little bit and try to get more people involved.
She looked kind of tired at the end of the ball game too. I mean, she looked like she was worn out actually.
Yeah. And we took her out in the fourth because she was cramping. So.
Well, here's on the screen we've got some of the Cookville highlights, and it's mainly Avea here, but you talked about, we were talking before the show too about the schedule and how tough it is. I mean, they're Cookville in the top 10, Friday's opponent Bearden in the top 10, top 5, I guess. So, but you don't get better playing teams that are not very good, honestly. And it makes you a better coach. As you said, you can see what they're doing.
Right. And I do think part of that's being at Oak Ridge. You can't just pick up the phone and call people and get them to play you when you're at Oak Ridge, and you have the tradition with the boys and the girls. So I think part of that's just being at Oak Ridge, and you're going to play the best. But Bearden, I mean, we played Cookville. I think right now they're ranked number 8 in the state. Bearden's ranked number 4. So it's kind of tough the first couple of games, and they're on the road. But they're in our district. We got to beat them, so we got to figure out how to do that.
Evelyn, last year I think we played Bearden we played Bearden in the region championship game, I do believe. You had played them up in Greenville, if you remember that ball game, and they beat us up there. It was pretty soundly, actually. And then we played them in the region that got you a home sectional ball game, which propelled you to the state. What was the difference between, and thinking back to last year, and then I'm going to fast forward to this year, what was the difference between that first game against Bearden and the second game against Bearden? And is that the kind of progression you'd like to see from your team this year, these early ball games to the end of the year?
Yeah, the second game we focused more on just like shutting down Natalia and all that, because she just took over the game, and if you take her out, then it's easier to play against them. And then, I mean, yeah, I'd like us to. You don't want to be your best in the beginning. You want to be more like towards the end.
You know, you're a senior, one of a few seniors, and as Coach and I were talking, your role has changed this year. You were, mainly off the bench last year when you came in and got a chance to play, but you're playing a lot more. What have you done in the off season to get ready for a different role this year in your senior year?
I played a lot of AAU games. I was on a team that I pretty much played the whole games, so I guess that helped prepare me to play pretty much the whole game.
Yeah, we were joking before the show, actually. You're a kind of a soft-spoken person. You might talk amongst your friends a lot more, but when I've been around you, you're kind of soft-spoken. You don't talk as much. As a senior, do you now see yourself as, with the young team that you have, a need to be a leader on this team, especially with all the youngsters?
Sometimes if no one else says it, I'll probably say it, because usually it's Avea or Janaea saying something. If someone's doing something wrong, they'll tell them pretty quick.
Your personality is not one to be just out and vocal. Is it hard for you to do that, though? I mean, is it difficult for you to kind of say something?
I mean, no. I mean, I can. I just don't like to just go out and say something.
Well, Coach, let's talk about how important it is to have, like Avea was the one who had the most playing time. I guess that then it would probably be Paige, and then Evelyn and Sakari only played maybe the first week or so last year, and she played maybe the year before. But how important is it with this young team to have the leadership of these older players?
Yeah, and I think it's and Evelyn's a great example because she leads by example. She is probably one of the most coachable kids I've ever coached. She also gets things the first time. Like if I say, "Do you have it?" She's like, "I got it," and she'll go out and do it to the best of her ability. And so you need players like that. You need people that other kids, especially our freshmen, see that she's just gonna do whatever I ask her to do every single time. Never complains. Never gives me a funny look. And then you have other players that lead by other ways. They lead by being vocal. They lead by cheering. They lead by so. I think you need a combination of that. And I think the big part about a good team is they figure out who needs to be talking when and who needs to be just listening and going through things. But Evelyn's a great example because she literally I think even today I looked at her one time and I said, "Do you have it?" She's like, "Oh, I got it," and she does, and so that's a good thing. Obviously, I think she could be a little more vocal, but that's she's doing everything I asked her to do, so that's good.
You probably had players too that you'd want to shut up sometimes too. That probably do a little bit too much talking in your past.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's that emotional maturity of knowing when to say something and when not to say something, and even from the coaching staff, there are times in practice I could say a lot that I need to be quiet and just let them kind of get through it and figure it out. And I do a lot of talking to myself at practice sometimes, but that's okay. But part of that is being just emotionally mature and being able to handle it.
And different coaches had different styles. Obviously, I've been around a lot of coaches, and what I've observed of you in the two ball games I've seen, you're a lot more calm, I guess is the best way to. And I remember you telling me, I guess, when I first met you, that in your early days you were not as calm.
I was a bit different. Yes.
You've kind of matured a little bit as a coach too, and as we've said many times before, being a coach is almost like being a psychologist too, because you're dealing, and you told me this. I don't want anybody to get mad here. When you're dealing with 11 or 12 girls,
Yes.
It's a little bit more difficult than perhaps it would be with boys. But each player is different, and you have to approach them differently. In your career, when did you learn how to do that?
Pretty quick. When I started coaching girls and women's basketball in college, I found out with guys, you can make general statements, and the ones that are listening, and the ones that are not listening. When you make a statement at a girls' basketball practice, and once again, nothing against girls, everybody hears it, and they remember it, and they remember it for a long time. I think it's just how they're wired. So you have to be very careful what you say, and you have to make sure that you're very, very specific. I try to tell my teams, look, if I say something that doesn't go over quite right, somebody come ask me. I probably didn't mean it the way it came out. But it is about trying to figure out what motivates each kid. Like I know with Evelyn, I'm not going to have to get on to her. I'm not going to. She played, I think, almost every minute of the game in Cookeville. I don't think he came out very much. And she never complained. She never asked to come out. She never, she just played. Mm-hmm. And so that, I don't have to motivate her that way. But we did have a discussion today about some changes we're going to make in the game on Friday, and I know how to motivate her, so we'll get her motivated. But yeah, you have to treat every kid as an individual.
Let me ask you, Evelyn. You've played for many different coaches, AAU, and you've played for two coaches at the high school level. You played in the middle school as well. Are you the kind of person, if somebody yells at you, you kind of shut down, or do you just take it in, or how do you do it? Coach just described what he sees you as a player. From your point of view, do you get motivated when somebody yells at you, or would you rather just have the calm, instructions?
I guess either of them work. I mean, if someone's yelling at you, that means they want you to do better. So if you just go and do it, then they might stop yelling. But yeah.
And I hate to. You're the tallest lady on the team for sure, and I know you don't want to be known as the tallest lady on the team. You want to be just part of the team. But what are your strengths as a player? Taking your height out of it, what are your strengths in your opinion? What's your strengths in your game?
My strengths are like guarding in the post, and then, defense, like blocking shots and stuff like that. Blocking shots and stuff like that. And then offense, I'm still working on that, but yeah.
Coach, I'm going to let you talk about her. She obviously, players know their strengths most of the time.
Sure.
Most of the time. But talk about how she has grown just in the time you've known her.
Yeah, I think when I first saw her play in the summer a little bit, and I went and watched her play on some Saturdays. I think we've had some discussions, and I do think she's a tweener player. She's not she's more of a trail post player. She's a post that can defend, can rebound, but she is better trailing, shooting threes. And in high school at her height, we really don't play her that way very much. She doesn't get that opportunity. She doesn't get that opportunity in AAU either. But I do think in college that will be her strength, is that she'll be able, because she can dribble the ball, she can handle the ball, she can trail on the press. There's a lot of things that she's bringing to the table. And I'm hoping, because we get Alani back, one of our post players, which is going to hopefully not ask her to play the entire game and be able to move her around a little bit more. I think once you see her moving around, it'll definitely help her strengths.
Well, Evan, let me ask you about this. Last year you got spot minutes, and that's the way it's been your career. Playing a whole ball game, what was that like that next morning when you got up? Were you like sore? Were you tired or winded or what?
I was a little sore, I'm not gonna lie. Also tired from playing two games back to back, pretty much the whole game. Yeah, it was hard to get up that next
So
morning.
as you progress, this season, you've only played the 2 games. You've got, hopefully 30 to go or so. What is the potential of this team? I know we lost a lot to graduation. That was last year's team. They're gone. Those are your friends, your teammates, but it's your team now. How far can this team go, in your opinion?
I think we can go as far as we want to go, as if we just play together, no arguing with each other, all of that. So if we just play together and don't get mad at each other, I think we'll be fine.
Coach, the chemistry of a basketball team is very important, and I know these girls, although they've been maybe some of them teammates, the new girls that have come in from different places they've never played together. So getting that chemistry is part of it too.
Yep,
I mean,
absolutely.
And you were talking about you're not sure that the kind of offense you're in or going to be in, or
Right.
Talk about how that is progressing with this group.
Every team I've ever coached, it is about the personalities. It's about figuring out who's going to play what role, who's going to be that player that picks up everybody else, and who's got a player that's going to ride everybody else. But also, who's going to know, who's the shooter, who's into the game, who's going to take the last shot, and the team has to kind of decide that a little bit. I mean, the coaches, we think we can, but at the end of the day, it's the players. And I had a high school coach that I worked with, and he gave me some great advice. He said, if you're trying something and after 3 or 4 days, your team does not pick it up or they do not want to do it, you better change, because team chemistry is more important than the X's and O's. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's one of the things that why we need to play, so we can figure out those adjustments, figure out what we need to do. And we've already made a lot between the last game and this one, but chemistry is everything. And I feel like I'm more of a player's coach than I was in my earlier years. I thought I had all the answers, and I figured out, at the end of the day, they're on the floor playing. It doesn't matter what I know. It matters what they know. Mm-hmm. And so that's the big thing. I just want them to always know that I'm going to believe in them. And it doesn't matter if we're up 40, down 40. I'm going to be coaching them, and we're going to be trying to get better. And I'm just excited to see them play again. I feel like it's been forever.
It has been forever. What things have you changed since the Cookville ball game?
Yeah, well, we've had some injuries, so we've had to adjust a little bit.
Is Honesty,
Honesty's still out for a little while.
Okay.
She's going through physical therapy right now, so we're hoping to get her back around Christmas. And so that changed a little bit, because I like to play fast, I like to press, and we had another freshman that went down with a knee, Talea, so she's been out. So that kind of limited our numbers, and so we've had to play a little slower, but I think we'll be able to get back to that once everybody gets healthy. But we've had to adjust that way, and then we're trying to get Alani back after her ACL, so I don't want to put her in a position where she's out 40 feet from the goal defending right now, but we'll get there. So we've had to adjust a little bit, and I won't say we've slowed down, but we've just figured out a way to be a little more patient.
Well, Evelyn, he said something a minute ago, Coach did, about the person who wants to take that last shot. Who is that person? Are you in your personality? I mean, do you want to be the person that takes that last shot, or do you want to be the person that gives it to that other person? Do you want to be that person who takes that final shot to win a ball game?
I mean, I guess I could be, but it'd probably be either Janae or Avea that would probably most likely make it.
Yeah, like you said, players know. I mean, they know who, and you all, work certain plays to get somebody open, to get an open shot.
Right.
Coach, we have about 10 more minutes here, and I want to go forward here and talk
Absolutely.
about. And I want to talk. I'm going to ask you some more questions too, Evelyn Eubanks. But so don't go away, Coach. You've got Bearden coming up. Mm-hmm. First District 4 ball game that we've played in 40-something years. We used to be in District 4 in the 70s before we went from half court to full court. It was a
Right.
long time ago.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's a tough district. Maybe one of the toughest districts in the entire state of Tennessee, from
Right.
top to bottom. You've got Farragut's always been good, and Bearden's perennially good. Final Four in the state a year ago.
Right.
And then you got Farragut coming up on Tuesday. That's a home ball game. Their record's not as good. I haven't seen actually who they play, but
Right.
Farragut coach does a good job with the Farragut team.
Right.
So you've got two really good, tough district ball games right out of the chute here.
Right.
And starting with Bearden on Friday.
Yeah, and nothing against the other teams in our district, but I do think at the beginning of the season, when we were looking at it, Bearden returns almost every starter. I think they had two girls that graduated from that team, and so they're pretty solid in what they're doing still. Farragut lost a couple of key players, but the bulk of their team is back, and just about everybody else in every other team in the district was kind of in a rebuilding stage. And if you look at the records right now, it's Bearden's probably the best team in our district, and then it's probably Farragut. They probably fit in there in the second, and then I think everybody else is trying to figure out where they're going to fit. So it's tough to start with the two best teams probably in our district, but and Farragut has played a really tough schedule already. They've played a lot of good teams, so but we'll be at home, so I feel good about it.
Well, it's a good measuring stick. I mean, you play these first two games, the two maybe arguably the best two teams in your district. Taking you out of it. We don't know where you're going to land there.
Right.
But and then we'll see at the end of the year where you are. So
Absolutely.
it's kind of a measuring stick.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I mean, we talked about it, at the end of the day, the way the whole district and regional thing works anyway, all that matters is that last time you play them.
That's true.
And I'm not saying I'm not trying to win this one too, but at the end of the day, we have to be our best at that point. And that's kind of my goal right now, is to get us all healthy, get us all kicking on all cylinders, basically, and getting some things figured out. So playing's going to help us. Whether we win or lose, it's going to help us because it helps us figure out what's going on.
Evelyn, what's been your favorite memory playing basketball at Oak Ridge High School?
If we took last year, I had a lot of fun when we went down there.
Coach didn't make the schedule here, I'm sure. And I asked him this. I don't know if I asked you this on the air or off the air about in upcoming years. Evelyn, you won't be with us, but you'll hopefully be scoring points and blocking shots in college. But Coach, do you want to take your team traveling?
Absolutely. Well, first you want to see different teams, and obviously it's fun to travel. It's a good team bonding, but it's really more about playing teams that you won't see. Because if you look at our district and you look at the type teams that we have to play, that will play us, there's a lot of teams that they won't return our calls. And that's okay, I get that. But if you don't travel, you're ending up playing the same teams over and over and over. And like I said, all that matters is that one at the end, and I don't want it to be the fifth time I've played somebody. So, yeah, traveling's definitely important, but more of the bonding part, and to see different basketball. I mean, basketball where I came from in Alabama is very different than basketball here in Tennessee. Doesn't make it better, doesn't make it worse. It's just different, and so you want to see that.
Evelyn, as we get start the Christmas holiday season, what is your favorite holiday? And why is it? Why is it your favorite holiday? Is it Christmas? What's your favorite holiday?
I would have to say Christmas. I like all the decorating and all the lights. It's for most part, it's pretty much a happy time of the year. Yeah.
I think good. Well, I've asked you this before too, as we've talked over the years, as you have moving on towards after high school. What do you want to do? What, like academically or vocationally, or play basketball?
Well, I want to do either physical therapy or athletic training program in college. Yeah.
Is that something you've always wanted to do? Did you have a job that you wanted to do when you were much younger? Your first job you wanted to be? What was that?
I think it was a dentist. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know why, but I think it was.
Well, they make money.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I'd like to keep my hands in somebody's mouth all the time,
No.
but I ask this question a lot too. If there was a time machine and you could go forward or backwards, where would you go? Would you go forward or backwards, and why?
I'd probably go backwards since you know what's going on. Like, you already know what's happening. You don't know what's going to happen in the future.
In a basketball game, have you ever laid in bed at night and said, God, I missed that layup. Wouldn't it be nice if I could go back and make that layup? Has that ever crossed your mind during the course of a game?
I mean, yeah, it has.
Have you ever wanted to coach? Is that something that you would want to do later?
Maybe. I haven't thought too much about it. I mean, maybe in the future.
Coach, as you look at your team, who would make the best coach? Is there?
Wow. That's a good question. That's a good question.
Maybe we can come back and
about
revisit that
one.
later.
Yeah, let's put some thought into that one a little bit. I think several of them have the ability to, obviously. I don't know if physical therapy sounds like a better gig than coaching, though, so I'd probably say go physical therapy.
Probably less pressure, I guess. Well, I don't know. If you don't, I don't know. It might be. We'll ask Brian Leffler sometime to see how much pressure is. Evelyn, anything you'd like to say before we close it out? It's always good to talk to you. It's always good to see you. You have a beautiful smile. I don't know if anybody's ever told you that. And in previous interviews, it's taken a lot for you to smile, but you've been smiling most of this one because you probably know this might be your last interview. That might be it. But Evelyn, anything you'd like to say? Shout outs to your parents, maybe?
I guess shout outs to my mom and dad.
What about that big guy that lives out in West Tennessee?
Oh, I guess my brother too.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, Evelyn, I appreciate it, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
That's Evelyn Eubanks. Coach, we got, looks like a minute or so here. You got Bearden, got Farragut, and I guess the goal, like you said, win or lose, it's just getting better.
Absolutely. We just have to get the measuring stick out and kind of figure out where we are. And, we talked about it before. The schedule was a little odd, not having a summer. So I really feel like we're kind of in preseason mode a little bit. So I'm just really looking forward to seeing us play again and seeing kind of what we fixed and what we haven't and get back to work.
Coach, I appreciate you joining us, and
Yes,
we'll
sir.
see you Friday night.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Kevin Tubbs, he is the head coach of the Oak Ridge High School Lady Wildcats. This has been Off the Glass. We're going to take a break. We're going to switch our attention to the boys' side. Coach Aaron Green will be joining us here. We'll be back with him in a moment.
I enjoy living and raising a family in East Tennessee because it's always been home to me. One thing that makes Fox Insurance Group stand out from other agencies is our customer service. Insurance, a lot of times, for a lot of people, is not something they really like to deal with, so I like to be there for them and help them through the process. It makes me feel good when I know my customer can rely on me and trust me. Yes, I'm very excited Fox Insurance Group is now an independent agency. It opens up so many doors for our customers and the agency as a whole, and we're going to be there for you when you need us the most.
Who are you not to be uncommon? Who are you not to be one in a million? 100 million? Your day job is what you do, but it doesn't define you. In a world of common, it might. But you? You were born to do uncommon things with the time you've been given. When's the last time Common fought a wildfire? Or brought a town back from the dark? Or stood against a rising flood? Common doesn't do that. Uncommon does that. And here, where uncommon lives are shaped, is where history will find you. A few weeks a year, and you'll discover the most uncommon time of your life.
When something happens to your car, you might say,
Ugh, come on, seriously?
This is so extra.
but what you could say is,
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
your local State Farm agents are available to help you online, over the phone, or in person. State Farm agents are here to help answer your questions and help you file your claim.
This is so extra.
Get with someone who can actually help. Contact me, Agent Laura Lynn Green, today.
This is Melvin Jackson, inviting you to experience mouth-watering, slow-smoke barbecue that hits every spot every time. Fats Barbecue is now open in Oak Ridge at 366 East Tennessee Avenue. Stop by our brand-new storefront or catch our award-winning food truck on the move. For over 30 years, our award-winning barbecue has been a staple in the East Tennessee. Perfectly smoked meats, hearty sides, and then that down-home flavor you love. Planning an event, we cater weddings, parties, and more. Call 865-421-3287. Fats Barbecue, where every guest is family. Follow the smoke, find the flavor.
Welcome back to Off the Glass, our first studio show of the year. Joining me is the head coach of the Wildcats boys team, Coach Aaron Green. Coach, always good to talk to you. You corrected me a couple weeks ago. 16 years as the head coach here at Oak Ridge. And were you 7 or 8 at Cleveland?
7.
7. So you
23.
Yeah, you're. That's hard to believe, Coach.
Because
I remember when you were playing. So
actually 26 years total, counting my 3 at Tennessee with Coach Pearl. So 26 years in the coaching is seems like it's flown by, but it's a lot of years coaching.
We've talked about this. You're coming off of and I want to talk about. We haven't really talked in detail much about the state tournament and the run to it. I want to talk about that some, but let's talk about this particular team and how it's different. Obviously, last year you played all the way to the state championship game and lost in that title ball game. You lost 4 starters. A great senior class. You even lost Aiden, too.
Correct, yeah.
You lost a great deal of talent off of last year's team. You had, and I was actually talking to one of your assistants on Monday, Coach Price, about this. And something, if I had been smarter, I could have figured it out. He said, Coach Price said to me, the guys that you have back this year, talented players, but their roles are all different. They've never really been the guy. Mm-hmm. And now Charlie appears to be the guy this year so far in terms of what he's done so far. But you can't just have one guy score all the points and block all the shots, get all the rebounds. So these guys are learning their roles as we go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think with Charlie, we probably labeled as the guy simply because he's our only returning starter. He's the one with the most experience from last year's state championship game run, and obviously the expectations are there for him. So the other guys are all in new roles. Even obviously Charlie being in a new role because he was, I guess you kind of call him a role player, but he was a shooter for us last year and did a lot of good things for us. So he's even playing a different position. Last year he's able to play the wing because we were so big, and now he's having to play like our 4 position, which is a little different. But yeah, we got a lot of I guess you call it inexperience from varsity games. A lot of them, and we've been in situations like this before. In my 16 years here, we've had, I think back to T and EJ and Tejon. Them's senior year, we kind of I think we lost maybe all 5 starters that year.
You did.
And then
you got Levert back, I guess.
Yeah, we had Levert back, and then there's been a couple. The Updegraff twins, Lucas, Cersei, that group. I think we lost a lot the year before. So we've been in similar situations. I think. Probably the difference for this year's team is our schedule, and we're in a new district, and I think our new district overall is probably tougher than the other district was last year. Mm-hmm. So our non-conference has not changed. Actually, it's probably a little bit tougher. So and we've got a little bit of inexperience at the point guard. Ray was a point guard 3 years, I guess, mm-hmm. 3 years. So Jarrell and Justice being first year back, and Jarrell's obviously going to be in that role as well. So it's a different team. It's a good group of kids to coach. They're going hard, and I think I'm excited about the team. I think we'll continue to get better as the year goes along. But it's definitely a different. They all have different situations than we've had in the past. I think even some of those years I just mentioned. You had they were. I don't know how to explain it, but I think the way Coach Price explained it is probably right. But, Jarrell's role, he's kind of having to handle it and try. We also got to have him scoring some. He's got to take care of the ball. Even Ethan James, we got to have him scoring. Whereas last year, so these guys have never really been in this situation, and I think that's the most challenging part. And I would just say the inexperience is probably the word that comes to play.
While we talk here, why don't we run some of the highlights from the previous 4 games? You started way on back against Oliver Springs, and, that's how it started. And you said something to me the other day, which I got a chuckle out of. I think that Charlie's tried to dunk twice, and he's gotten 2 technicals, and he can't dunk anymore.
That's correct. He's not. I told him that was out of the question for a little while, so – I kidding with him the other day in practice. He dunked one and was right before practice started, kind of hung on the rim. So that's Charlie. That's number 3, third technical. But good kid. Got to have a little fun with it. But obviously this game here, we shot the ball extremely well. think we made 17 or 18 threes, which was the second all-time in threes made. So, and I said after that game, you're not always going to shoot it like that. And but yeah, good, fun game to play. It was, we have a hard time getting teams to want to play us. And, I appreciate Coach, wanting to come over and play. They wanted to come and play. And, I think that game will, obviously make them better. But I think score's a little bit, probably not quite as, I think we won 80-something, 20-something, but I don't
It was
think
almost a 60-point win.
Yeah, I don't think they're quite that bad. I don't know if we're quite that good, but sometimes basketball, it happens. You get hot, and threes start going in, and it makes everything else a lot easier, and kids play harder, and it kind of snowballs.
Yesterday, I actually spoke to one of your former players, Jeremy Miller, who played on one of your state tournament teams. Should have gone twice, but COVID kind of wiped out that 1 year, and he was commenting about this particular ball game. He thought, looking at your team, said, wow, it's not the same kind of team that you've had before, but then you start knocking down threes, and his exact words were, they're going to be okay. And that's kind of what I think too. But there isn't, every night you're not going to hit 16 threes. So, and you've got to find offense from other people. You mentioned Ethan. Obviously, I think Eli's a big factor for you too. And, you've got to find more scorers basically than just Charlie.
Yeah, and I think we have guys that can score, and I think that'll be the challenge. We, in years past, like the last couple of years, we could, post up a lot of different guys and get it inside. And we can still do that. It's going to be more of, guys that are not necessarily post players doing that. So we've got to, as a staff, we've made a few adjustments with our scheme and stuff like that to try to fit our personnel. But we do shoot it well, and I think that makes you hard to guard. It's kind of like in football, I guess, if you can – if you can stretch a field, it lets you run it a little bit better. If you can run it, it makes you pass a little bit better. So we can shoot it, and we just got to find ways to get good shots. I think turnovers have been an issue for us these a couple of games since that game, and but again, it's a long season, it's a process, and but I think offensively taking care of the ball, defensively, doing a better job, just simply guarding the ball is the two areas we've tried to get a little bit better at over the last week.
So this was your one and only home game to this point. You'll play at home on Tuesday against Farragut, and you've had some other games. We'll see some highlights. Here's Cookville. You went there, and you fell behind early in this ball game, and I know that actually. Maybe I'm trying to remember this. You've had some slow starts, with the exception maybe of the Siegel game. You started out a little quicker in the Siegel ball game, and you've had to rally back. And one thing you've told me, a couple of things you've told me after these ball games, you like to fight at the end of the game. At least they didn't give up.
Yeah, I think the one thing that stands out about this game is actually I heard Purdue's coach say this the other day, and it's really we can talk about taking care of the ball, execution, finding scores, all that. But if you don't play harder than the other team you're playing, none of that matters. And I thought this game overall, I thought Cookville was more aggressive. I thought they played harder for larger. We had stretches where we played hard. So really, without trying to distort some of the issues, we can't have teams play harder than us. I think that's kind of been the foundation of what our program's been built on, and I think that we haven't necessarily had that since, and we can't have that again. But we got off to a slow start because, again, they were the aggressor and we were not. And then we kind of tried to fight battle back, and we did, and just didn't make enough plays down the stretch to win the game. But definitely didn't quit and battled back and gave ourselves a chance there at the end.
Evelyn Eubanks was on the girls segment before you, and she was talking, and she said it's not an excuse basically, but you'd play. This was your second consecutive night of playing basketball. And I know as a coach, and I think you said to me after the game, they're 16, 17-year-olds, they can play back-to-back ball games. But I think it is, from my point of view, a factor, actually.
Yeah, and I'm probably not the one to ask that because I'm usually not going to bail them out by saying that was, the reason for it. But, yeah, and if you look at it, you played and the night before you have to travel, which, I guess makes you a little bit fatigued. But, I think for us that can't be an excuse. We got to play hard and be ready to go every time we tip it up.
And this is Rockvale. This is a team that you played in the tournament at Lebanon. Was that last week? Seems like it's been so long since you all played. And this was a game that I thought was very winnable actually, but you weren't able to get.
Yeah, Rockvale I think is a solid team. I was talking to the team today about Rockvale. Had the lead at Independence, first game of the year, I believe, or second game of the year. Independence, solid team, state tournament team from last year. They lost quite a bit too, but a good team. I think Rockvale's a good team, very athletic. We just, they just got in the paint, to break this game down. They just offensively they got in the paint anytime they wanted, and we did a little bit better job second half. I think we're down 10 at halftime, and then I think in the third quarter we tied it. So made a few adjustments, and but again, we got off to it's hard to get yourself out of a 10-point deficit against good teams. So we gotta be able to get off to better starts for sure.
One of these first 4 ball games, Coach Tubbs said something, which makes a lot of sense to me, and you've said it for years to me. These early ball games, you're just, especially this group hasn't really played that much together as a group. So, and you're having to figure out your rotation on who's going to come in and where they're going to come in. So it's basically a learning curve for them and for you to adjust.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, we're still trying to figure out rotations. We got, Jarrell can play one, Justice can play one, Ethan can play one. We can go real small and play, 4 guards with Charlie at the 5. So we haven't done that lineup much. So we're still trying, me as a coach, still trying to, figure out best lineups based on certain matchups, and that stuff we'll figure out here as we go.
Is it Siegel? I can't tell.
Siegel, yes.
Yeah. So this is the game you actually won. You could play them actually twice. I was looking down the road. They're in a tournament you're going to be playing I guess at Page. I guess, I think they're involved in that tournament. So there's a possibility you could play them again. But this is a game that you won. You started out in this game, got a good lead, and really they came creeping back there at the end, but you were able to hold on and win.
Yeah, I think we got up 13 in the second half, and actually played really well. They played a matchup zone, and we did a surprisingly good job. We executed well against it, got some good looks, made some shots. Charlie, had 27, which obviously a big difference. Louis had 13 with 4 threes. Were the 2 guys this game that kind of carried us out. Great pass there by Jarrell to find the open guy against the matchup zone. Good pass there by Charlie. But I thought that I think this was probably one of the better games we played, other than the Oliver Springs game. Very athletic team, similar to Rockville. I thought going in, that Siegel may have been a little bit better, but very similar teams with Rockville and Siegel for sure. And Siegel plays in that Murfreesboro league, so they'll win a lot of games this year, I believe.
And so you're 2-2 coming into your next ball game, which is coming up obviously Friday. And I think you said to me after the Siegel game, Bearden might be one of the top teams in the state of Tennessee.
Yeah, I think they are. They got obviously 2 of the better guards in my opinion. They got a kid from Catholic as a transfer, so. I would put them in the just one of the top 4A teams in the state for sure. They got a lot of those guys back from last year when we beat them in the region semis, and Coach Parrott does a good job with them. They've traditionally been right there in the mix every year, and they've got a really good team. I think on paper, I think just as a coach and opinion wise, I think Webb probably the best team. They got a lot of guys back from their private school state championship, and then probably Bearden in that mix, Maryville. For sure, so it'll be a big challenge for us for sure. We're looking forward to it. Luckily, we've had some time here to get a little bit of prep time, because typically you don't get that much time to prepare. So, big challenge, and but again, to get better, you got to play good teams. Obviously, this is probably one of the best. Obviously, I think going into the year, Bearden would be probably on paper the best team in our league, our new league, with what they return. So, big challenge. So our guys will be ready. We've had a couple good days of practice. Got to have another good day tomorrow, and. It'll boil down to simple stuff. We got, they rely a lot on turning you over. They do a good job pressuring you defensively. We got to take care of the ball. We got to get good shots. We just got to get some good shots off. And, you got to guard the 3-point line with them, because they can really shoot it. You got 4 guys that can really shoot it, which makes them hard to guard because they're athletic enough to get around you. So they present a lot of challenges there. So it'll be a good test for us. We'll have to play well to have a chance, and looking forward to the challenge.
We haven't played there much recently. I mean, most of the games we've been playing with them, against them, have been at our place, which has been fortunate. Some of the big region tournament ball
What
games.
year was it when we had Herbert and they had the tall kid that went to Asheville? I think they may have.
Yeah, that's a while ago,
like
though.
19, maybe 18 or 19,
so,
6-7 years ago. So
I don't know if Coach Parrott was trying to sandbag me, but I was talking to him last week. I was getting a roster and all that from him, and he was saying, Oak Ridge looks good on tape, and and that I don't know, it's not going to be as easy as So
that's coach talk for a little
bit. Pretty much. And I noticed today he had some quotes in something about just how good Oak Ridge is, and it's going to be a tough assignment, and I hope it is. Obviously you don't roll the ball out there and think you're going to lose or win.
No, and I think just look at Bearden and Oak Ridge. Take me and Coach Parrott out of it. Those are 2 traditionally really good programs, and with really good teams over the last century or so, decade. So the last state tournament, teams we've had, and they won it once. I think it was runner-up once, and we've been runner-up twice, and a couple. So very similar situations. We've put them out a few times. They've put us out a few times. But they've got a really good team. I mean, he does a good job with them, and they play hard. They're fundamentally sound. They got good guards, and they play the right way. So we'll definitely have to play well to win. I mean, I don't know what games he's watched, but we've got to take care of the ball a little bit better and score it a little bit better to have a chance, which we're capable, but we've got to do some things a little bit better than we've had to have a chance.
You got Farragut on Tuesday, which is another district ball game, and back in the late 70s and before that, we were in District 4. We were with Farragut all the time. So, but now, as we talked about, it's a new district for us, and Bearden is probably, like you said, the cream of the crop. And I was looking at the other teams; they've all been. McMinn County's been playing really well.
Undefeated, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's not going to be easy at all. And Farragut is always going to bring their game, and they're coming to our place on Tuesday. But how do you see the district right now? As they've all played more games than we have. I think they've all played maybe 6 or 7 games. We played 4.
Yeah.
How do you see it so far?
Yeah, I think. I like the challenge of playing in a tough district. Not that we've had years our district, the old district is better than their district. So don't take this the wrong way. But I like the challenge of playing in a tougher district. I think that'll, over the course of the season can get you a little bit better. Playing good teams like that. But yeah, I mean, I think Bearden's obviously. I think most coaches in our league would say this. Bearden's probably the best team going in for sure, roster wise. Farragut with Parker Lane. I can't remember the other kid's name. They've got some talent. Coach Price has got that scout. So we'll, once we finish on Friday, we'll get into them. But
Parker is Halston Lane's son.
All-time leading scorer son. Yeah. So I don't know how he ended up at Farragut. It's Halston, but anyway, no, just kidding. But yeah, then McMinn County, who beat Tellico the other night. Actually, Tellico. I think it's only lost one game. Tellico beat Dobbins Minute by like 16. They also beat Science Hill.
Wow.
So we scrimmaged Tellico and lost, I don't know, a 7 or 8 point game. But so McMinn County, I texted Coach Swanson at Tellico and said, "Man, is McMinn?" And he said, they're pretty good. But, they just played a tough overtime game the night before and had some guys sick. So he wasn't making excuses. But they're obviously talented. Little City's better than most people. Brewster's their coach. He does a good job. Andy Pennington is a good friend of mine that helps them as well. They'll be well coached and solid. As we're just kind of getting into it, just looking at scores, hadn't really got into scouting yet, other than watching Bearden on tape. It's really as far as I've got, but it'll be a tough challenge. I mean, I hate playing at McMinn County. Going down there is always tough.
What about Ray County?
Yeah, Ray County as well. They were in our league when I was at Cleveland for 7 years. They've got a new gym now, so I don't know. I guess for old memory's sake, I look forward to going down there, but that's really about it. It's a long drive, so. But it'd be a big challenge. I think there's obviously he mentioned Hardin Valley. Hardin Valley is typically really good. I know a couple of their players look at some of their scores; they're solid as well. So it won't be easy, and I think how it'll all shake out, we'll see.
I think Hardin Valley plays Farragut on Friday, right before, so you'll get a chance to look at them when you're scouting at Farragut. Yeah. So, Coach, I want to talk about this. We didn't really get a chance to talk about this much after the state tournament, but what a great run you guys had last year. I know that was last year, and you got a brand new team. I'm taking nothing away from this year's team, but we're just starting this season. But last year was just a great run.
It was, and I think just reflecting back on last year, if you watched this place some in the summer, we went to Wake Forest. I think we lost 3 or 4 games down there. We lost a couple of games here locally, and from where we came in the summer to throughout the year, and then get to the region and go through Knox West first round, who's really, really good.
Right.
State tournament team and win that I think by 2. Then turn right around and play a team that's better than them and Bearden as far as on record wise, and I think they finished second or whatever. But to find a way to win that game, and then then play Maryville in the region championship, and was down 9, I think, in the fourth quarter. They were really good, state tournament team as well. And then, to play Sevier County at home in a sectional.
About the 9th time that season. You played them several times.
And I knew that one was not going to be easy, and, that the kids just found a way to win. I thought Ray's play from postseason was a big key in our run. And then, you get to state tournament. I've always said, to win a state championship, you've got to get there first. That's the number one thing. You got to get there. then when you get there, you never know. You got to get, I don't know if there's good draws or bad draws. We got Walker Valley, who's tough matchup. I think we beat them obviously early in the year, but we shot it really well. I was really concerned going that game, but man, we just really D'd them up in that state tournament game. They had a hard time even getting a shot off, and that gave us a little bit of momentum going into what I think is probably one of our biggest wins since we've been here. Honestly, we've had some big ones. To beat Memphis Whitehaven, who
number one like most of the season.
Yeah, to beat Memphis Whitehaven, who had not lost to a Tennessee team all year long. And they were really talented, had a Mr. Basketball finalist, and to grind that game out and win it, says a lot about the kids that we had, and that was tough because I remember walking off the floor, I was like, man, we're in the state championship. And I looked down at my clock, it's like 11:15. We didn't get back to the hotel. I don't know if a lot of pro coaches know this. We didn't get back to the hotel till probably around 12 our time. We've got food ready. We got already scout prepared on Hillsboro. So we get back and we're kids are worn out, and that was a physical and tiring game against Whitehaven. I mean, it was brutal. I thought Ray Ray's knee was injured a little bit. I mean, it was. So you don't really have time to think about all that. And we, have pizza and we start watching, Hillsboro and we got the scout ready. And then next morning we get all our guys up and go get them. I don't even know the name of this, David, chirotherapy, and get Ray some IVs, and then play a state championship game at 6 o'clock. Was kind of a whirlwind. I mean, it was to have shoot around the next day. So and then Hillsboro was in the same situation, obviously, because they played the game before us, so a little bit more time, But yeah, I mean, I thought going in, I remember going to shoot around. I thought, you're trying to scramble because you don't know who's going to win. So when you finish your game, it's not like you have a scout ready because Hillsboro won right before we played. So you got scouts ready, and then you start talking to coaches the next morning and kind of get an idea. And you talk to coaches, yeah, coach, I think you'll win this and that. You don't really want to hear that. But I thought, going the game, I thought we'd win the game. We just, I think we just ran out of gas a little bit, didn't play our best. We played pretty bad offensively the first half and was only down 3 at halftime. I liked our spot at halftime, even though we didn't play very well, and just didn't make enough plays, didn't make enough shots that we'd been making to kind of get us over that hump. And you got to give Hillsboro credit; they, played really well. And that was a good team. I mean, they're very athletic, had a lot of balance, had a good guard play, shot it well, and very disappointing loss, for sure. But reflecting back on it, I think going into the season, if you'd told us we'd, made the state championship and lost, in a battle to Hillsboro to, in a state championship game, I would have thought, man, that's a heck of a season.
Coach, let me ask you about those guys that graduated. What are they doing now?
Yeah, so Ray is at Chat State, and he's last I checked, I've watched some of his games too. He's starting and doing well. Garrett's at Lee University. I think they got a lot of guys, returning, so he's not getting a ton of minutes. So he's, kind of in that freshman lull, and that's a little bit different situation than JUCO. Shamar's at Tusculum. He's basically playing on their JV team right now, and I expect him to probably develop into one of their better players by the time he graduates, like he did for us. And Cooper's just going to school. He decided not to play. So
did he just not want to play?
Yeah, he didn't want to play. I mean, I had coaches calling me after the state tournament games like, "Hey, 35, Cooper." I was like, "Well, I don't think he wants to play." So, and that's okay. Some basketball, it's been my entire life. As you get a little bit older, you realize, it's not everybody's life. So. And Aiden's at Tennessee State now. And actually, he's a manager there, and they played Tennessee the other day and got to go to the game, speak to him a little bit. So those guys are doing well and will do really well moving forward too.
So this particular team's playing Bearden on Friday. What have you been doing since that last ball game against Siegel?
Yeah, I took some time off, which I think was good at Thanksgiving. Let the kids get away, spend some time with family. We took off. We played Tuesday, so we gave them off till Sunday. Come back. We practiced Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, which is plenty of practice time for sure. And it's been good. I think just the challenges of trying to improve on your weaknesses is going to be a continuing, process throughout the year, and something, we got to, you're going to be good at what you emphasize. We've got to, again, I think taking care of the ball, and, getting good shots and finding other guys that, we got other guys that can put it in the hole. We got to have other guys put it in the hole other than Charlie, and they can do it. And then defensively, we made some adjustments. We, not getting out quite as much and just trying to contain the ball where we've been getting beat off the dribble a little bit too much, and if you don't guard the ball well in high school basketball, you're gonna have a hard time stopping people. So, so those are the two areas we've worked on the most. We've, obviously we're not running the same type of offense we ran last year because our personnel is a little bit different. So, that's been a little bit of an adjustment. We'll get better as you know, as the season goes on, but I think you know, focus on that process, not the end result. It's going to be the kind of the keys. I've said every year we've had this show. These are all scrimmage games, David. So you're trying to be the best you can be come postseason, and you got to continue to get better. And we got a tough enough schedule to make us better.
I was just sitting when I was listening to what you were saying. You know, it's got to be frustrating at times, you know, because you've had you're a whole brand new team, so you had to change. But it's also kind of be more rewarding, maybe as the older you get, because you're having to do a lot more thinking, a lot more coaching this year than you have had to do in the last.
Yeah, last year I just tried to stay out of their way. You know, some of the teams, you know, just you can overcoach. But yeah, I mean, I think this year's team is, you know, some of the stuff, you know, some of our mistakes, like we've missed a ton of layups, you know, and that's not. I asked one of my coaches today, you know, I was like, I don't know how to correct that. I mean, we work on layups, we emphasize it, you know, talk about going off 2 feet. Just some of the stuff that you normally, you know, may not have to focus as much on, you may have to focus on, you know, and that's just part of coaching. So, you know, I think just making simple plays is something we focus on. Don't try to do too much. Just find the open guy. If we get an open look, let it fly. You know, and just simple stuff as, you know, just, and we take these for granted with some teams we've had in the past, is just being able to keep the ball in front of you on defense. You know, if the ball's going around people and getting into the paint, that's where you're going to get in trouble. And when you play good teams, they got good players that can get around you and shoot it. So just focus on some of those details. Technique and fundamentals is extremely important, and we're working on those things every day. And that's why I think this team, you know, by the end of the year will be a lot better, you know, middle of February into February than we are right now.
Coach, we've got less than a minute here, so just any final words here? No,
just you know, good fun group to coach. And looking forward to it. It's going to be, you know, a big challenge for us on Friday. I'm looking forward to seeing how our guys respond. We'll have some adversity there for sure, and but again, our guys have been in big situations before. I think that's one good thing about playing, you know, tough schedules over the year. These guys have, you know, not going to be afraid of anybody, and we'll show up and compete and get after it, and you know, and see what happens. So we'll. I'm looking forward to the coach this year, to the challenge on Friday.
Coach, thanks a lot.
All right, thanks, David.
Oak Ridge coming up this Friday at Bearden. We'll hope you'll join us. For Chandler in the back, this is David Clary. Until next week, saying so long, everybody.